What is going on, guys? Rogue TCG here, bringing the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG deck profile, except this time it's not quite TCG. I'm covering some new cards that are going to be coming to the TCG fairly soon, being the heraldic cards. Now, this is a request that I got from my Discord. This week I am doing Discord suggestions. The Discord is in the description below, so if you do want to join and get in on future suggestion videos, join it, and there's a specific channel in the Discord for that. But for today, we're going to be covering heraldic. Now, this deck is notoriously bad in past tenses, like previously it was awful. And it's not because it necessarily had bad cards, it just didn't really have a payoff. All the XCs kind of sucked, and there just wasn't really much to do with it. However, it has gotten a bunch of recent support, and the cards actually read insane. They do so much for the strategy that it might even be playable standalone, and that's what I'm here to find out. So, without further ado, here is Heraldic. I'm going to be covering the cards card by card, letting their effects, and I'm going to be showing you a quick test game that I played. So, starting off, we're on triple copies of the new card, Heraldic Beast Griffin. We can send a Heraldic Beast monster from our deck to the graveyard, except for itself, to special summon from our hand that is sent for cost, and we cannot special from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except by XC summoning that uses only monsters with the Heraldic Beast or number in their original name as material. Now, what does that actually mean? It means you can only use Heraldic Beasts as material. However, Heraldic Beasts in the old archetype, this one isn't actually a Heraldic Beast. This is a Heraldry, not a Heraldic Beast. So, in order to get around that, they said the number monster as well. So you can rank this guy up, and you can actually keep doing stuff. That does allow us to do some silly things with other stuff in the extra deck, of course. However, this is the main idea behind that lock, because I have noticed a lot of confusion based around what you're actually allowed to do with Griffin and Stadwale, given the lock that they do have. And Griffin also can be treated as 2 materials for the XC summon of a number XC's monster that needs 3 or more materials. So that means for a Heraldry Crest, it needs 3 level 4s. We can use Griffin plus 1 other body and just make it like that. We're also on triple copies of the new card Stadwale. If it's normal or special, we can pitch a card to add 2 Heraldry spell or traps from our deck to our hand. We can banish this card from our graveyard, target 2 Heraldic Beasts with the same name in our graveyard, special summon in the defense position, and then we're locked from the extra deck with the same condition that Griffin locks us underneath. So, incredibly powerful card, the best normal summon of the deck. You want this card to resolve no matter what. Being able to add 2 of the most powerful spells and traps in the entire game is insane, because that's what the spells and traps for Heraldic actually are. They are absolutely cracked for what they do. Like, they're insane, and once we get to them, you'll see why. But we're on triple Stadwale for that purpose. We're also on triple copies of Leo. This card is an older card. Its first effect is completely irrelevant during the end phase of the turn as normal summon. It pops itself. But it says when this card is sent to the graveyard, we get to add a Heraldic Beast with a different name from our deck to our hand. And that is a hard once per turn. This means that during both players' turns, we're going to be able to add Heraldic Beasts for like every single turn, and just keep grabbing either a Griffin or a Stadwale, again, every single turn, which is really powerful. It also turns Griffin not just into a circular, being able to dump a card and then special summoning itself. The card it dumps, which is going to be Leo more times than not, is also going to be able to search you with Stadwale, which is incredible. So, we're on triple Griffin, triple Stadwale, and triple Leo, and the last main deck Heraldic piece we're on 3 of is triple Eel. Now, this card is a little bit suspect, to be completely honest. If we control 2 or more Heraldic Beast monsters, we can just special it from our hand. Why is it suspect? Because a lot of the times we actually might not have 2 Heraldic Beasts on the field at a good moment where we want to be summoning this. The main thing is a lot of the Heraldic Beast cards, or at least one of the most powerful cards in the archetype, will special summon 2 monsters, but then immediately XC summoning using them. So, leaving us with 1 monster that isn't a Heraldic Beast, because again, the monsters in our extra deck are not Heraldic Beasts. They're Heraldry. So, we are on triple Eel just for the purpose of having a free extender, functionally, in order to get extra bodies on board to keep playing our turn. We're also on double copies of Symbiana, if I've said that correctly, allowing us to pitch another Heraldic Beast monster to special summon from our hand, and then it has an attack where we can pitch another Heraldic Beast to gain attack, and that is a once per turn. That attack gain actually can help in some situations. For example, if you're underneath of a window, you can normal summon this, pitch a card, and it can beat over the window theoretically. So it's not the worst. The main reason this is in here is again an extender. We can discard a card to special it. If we discard something like Leo, it replaces itself, so we're not too beat up about that. And then the last Heraldic Beast we're on is double copies of Aberconway. Now, this one is also very suspect. If this card's in your graveyard, we can banish another Heraldic Beast Aberconway specifically from our graveyard to target a different Heraldic Beast monster in our graveyard and add the card that we targeted back to our hand, and that is a hard once per turn. Why did they put a hard once per turn on such an ass effect? I do not know, but they did, and we do need to play Heraldic Beasts. We need to play enough Heraldic Beasts in order to, play our strategy, so we're trying to go in on the ones that are the least bad. But that's it for our monsters. Now let's cover the amazing cards of the strategy, being our spells and traps. Or rather, just spells, we're not playing any traps. We're on triple copies of Advanced Heraldry Art. Target 2 Heraldic Beast monsters in our graveyard, special summon both, and then immediately after the card effect resolves, Xyz summon one Xyz monster using those 2 monsters only. Incredible card effect. There's no once per turn on it, so we can keep doing it multiple times. So Stad Whale also doesn't have to add cards with different names. So if we have the materials to be doing it, we can just add 2 Advanced Heraldry Arts from our deck to our hand and make basically 2 free Xyz for the cost of 1 discard, which is amazing. We're also on double copies of Charged Up Heraldry. It's also a little bit suspect to seeing only 2 copies of this card in here, and that's for the purpose of this is a hard once per turn, and we can add it from our deck to our hand as Stad Whale, which we have a million ways to get to. This card reads, we contribute a monster to special summon 2 Heraldic Beast monsters from the deck in defensive position, and then we're locked out of special summoning from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except for Psychic or Machine monsters, which you'll notice in our extra deck is what we are playing a lot of in order to try and play around this restriction a little bit. So this card is insane. It is a hard once per turn, but we are playing 2 of it because we do want to be resolving 2 over the course of a game. The last 2 Heraldic Beasts is 1 card of Heraldry Flash. Target any number of face-up monsters your opponent controls. Their names become unknown. During the end phase of this card's in your graveyard and control a Psychic Xyz monster, we can set this card but banish when it leaves the field. Now, the unknown effect might be a little bit suspect if you don't know exactly what it's for, but there is a couple things in this deck that do like changing the names of our opponent's monsters. That can affect cards that need specific names like Ryziel Detonator, although our big boss monster helps us a lot in interacting with cards that's names are unknown. And then our last heraldic spell trap is 1 copy of Heraldry Reborn, which is just a not once per turn monster reborn. Even though it's not once per turn, we're still only playing 1 copy of it because it's just like worse than Advanced Heraldry Art, to be completely honest. For our non-engine, we're on triple thrust, 1 called by, 1 talents, triple copies of Infinite Impermanence, triple copies of Molcharmi Perulia, it is a level 4, triple copies of Fool Loss, it is a level 4, and triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. In our extra deck, for our Heraldics, we're playing 1 King Genome Heritage. This card is an Xyz monster negate, and it can steal the effect of a monster it negates. We're also on 1 copy of Heraldry Patriarch, which is a double Foolish Burial if it's sent to the graveyard by any means, but also has the ignition effect, once per chain during either player's turn, if 2 or more monsters with the same name are on the field, we can detach a material to choose one of those monsters that are on the field of the same name, destroy all other monsters with that name while this card remains face up on the field. So instead of destroying the cards outright, it is kind of like a floodgate, kind of. It's like a Tikaboo, but only for 1 card name, which is pretty useful, especially if your opponent's card names are unknown, and if a lot of their card names are unknown. So it pairs really well with Heraldry Flash. We're also on 1 copy of Shatterstream and 1 copy of this card being not Baguska, Dark Matter Demolition. Heraldry Stream allows us to just slap this guy on top of Heraldry Crest as material, which explains the restriction on Griffin and Stad Whale. And when your opponent basically does anything, they attack or activate a monster effect, we can immediately slap this guy on top, being Dark Matter Demolition. This card reads, cannot be destroyed by valor card effect. Once per turn, quick effect, you can attach material from this card. Target a face of monster your opponent controls. Its name becomes unknown, and it has the static effect, where negate any unknown effects activated by your opponent. So anything that's an unknown is automatically negated, kind of like a skill drain, which is very fantastic. We're also on 1 copy of Baguska. We're on 2 copies of the old 69. Funny enough, this card actually does kind of hose like Ryziel. When this card is special summon, negate the effects of all other face-up Xyz monsters currently on the field. You can target one other face-up Xyz monster on the field until the end of turn. This card's name and original effect become the same as that monster. You'll use this effect of number 69 Heraldry Crest once per turn. Pretty decent, to be completely honest. Even though it was printed a long time ago, this card still kind of holds up. Not entirely, but given the context of Ryziel being meta relevant, this card actually isn't the worst. We're on one copy of Baguska. Since we are kind of locked into numbers with Griffin and Stadwheel's restriction, we do kind of have to focus on numbers, machines, and psychics in our extra deck, although there is going to be one exception. We're on one copy of Baguska, one copy of Silent Honor Arc for removal. It also protects itself, which is kind of nice. One copy of Evil Swarm Ouroboros. This is the exception. This guy's a dragon. It's a 4. It's not a psychic or a machine, and it's not a number. However, if we have the ability to make an Ouroboros turn 1, which we can do, we would be able to rip a card out of our opponent's hand, make a Heraldry Crest, use Heraldry Crest to copy our own Ouroboros, and then rip another card out of our opponent's hand with Heraldry Crest, which is pretty debilitating, especially if you pair it with something like a Triple Tactics Talons. We're also on double copies of Time Thief Redoer. We're on 2 copies because it actually really does come up. This deck loves getting in grind game situations where you're just making the game last super long, and Time Thief Redoer is perfect for those situations. It is also a psychic, so one activation of Advanced Heraldry Arc does translate into a Time Thief Redoer on your side of the field. We're also on one card. This card's going to be coming out as well. One card of Sacra Vendrage. These 2 4s. It's a psychic. We can attach a material from this card, target a 1 level or rank 4 psychic monster in our graveyard except for itself, and special summon it. If a monster is special summoned while this card is in your monster zone, except during the damage step, you can trigger one of the face-up monster on the field. That monster's name becomes this card's name until the end of the turn. So, a little bit different than the Herald, like how Dark Matter Demolition does it, where their name is explicitly unknown. This card kind of does the same name change effect, but with its own name. It still is applicable for stuff like Raziel, stuff like Malice, where they need to have the specific card name on their side of the field in order to make their guys. However, it doesn't come up quite as frequently since we're not able to interact with it as much as we are with the unknowns. We're also on one copy of number 27, Dreadnought Dreadnoid. It fulfills both requirements, being a number monster and a machine monster. And this card does kind of allow us to cheat out some monsters that we wouldn't really be able to summon otherwise. Being Divine Arsenal AA Zeus, which we can make, if we go to combat and swing, but sometimes we just don't really want to be doing that, so we can do that with our Super Dreadnought Dreadnoid, or we can go into Super Dimensional Robot Galaxy Destroyer, because one major downside to this deck is the fact that it does not very good against back row, unfortunately. Back row does kind of hose it, so Super Dimensional Robot Galaxy Destroyer is just Harpy's Feather Dusters that our opponents cannot respond to with their spells and traps. In our side deck, we're of course on Artifact Lancia, and I do want to also mention, that there are other cards that we can summon with our Dreadnought Dreadnoid that are incredibly valuable. Libe is strong, but it is a battle-centric focused effect, and since Dreadnought Dreadnoid has to go to combat first and kill something before you can cheat out the monster, Libe isn't necessarily a fantastic option, but one that is a fantastic option is Super Dreadnought Cannon Gustav Max. Just to burn for some damage, get in for lethal, and for time purposes, But, however, this card can come up, but since you see the extra is pretty tight, to be completely honest, there are a lot of options that we would like to go into or have the ability to go into throughout the course of our turn. This would be a card that I would personally consider as a side deck card. We could also potentially go into Super Dora to make our cards unaffected by our opponent's cards, except, the main thing we would want to be doing that with would be our Heraldry Crest Shatter Stream in order to prevent our opponent from interacting with it in a meaningful manner. But that's about it for the deck profile. Now let us go into the test games. Alrighty, here we are. We're going second. We've opened Aberconway, Stadwhale, Eel, Griffin, and Foolish Burial. This was a card that was in the initial testing of the deck. I did replace this Foolish Burial for a second copy of Aberconway once I realized how it realistically worked. So, for purposes of this video, ignore Foolish Burial. It doesn't get used in the duel. Just consider it as another copy of Aberconway, and then I just refuse to use it for some reason. So, we're going second. Let's see what our opponent can set up. They start with E-Telly in the standby for a tracker. They're going to go to main phase. They're going to normal summon a Doug Charger. They're going to go Doug Charger and Kagemuchi Knight. Kagemuchi summoning, Doug Charger adding Grad Breakout from deck to hand. Here they're going to be able to go to Kabanga. Kabanga is going to search a second Doug Charger. And then here they're going to go Doug Charger to special summon to a field from detaching off the Gabanga. Go into Cherubini, sending a Gloves to the graveyard. Gloves effect to send a Cloak to the graveyard. Cloak effect in order to add a Torn Scale from, a Shade Brigandine from deck to hand. Then they are going to set Shade Brigandine, activating it, specialing it, making a Bardiche. Bardiche effect to set a Fog Blade, sending a Silent Boots. They're going to go Silent Boots effect in order to add another copy of Fog Blade from deck to hand. Then they're going to be able to set 2, and they're going to pass it over. They're going to go Gabanga in end phase in order to attach a Clatter Sploder from their deck to Gabanga. Let's see if we're able to break 2 Fog Blades in an unknown back row, plus Gabanga and Clatter Sploder. We draw for turn, we draw a Charged Up Heraldry, which is fantastic, a really great extender. And let's see what we're able to accomplish. We're going to start off with Griffin, sending Leo. Specialing out Griffin, Leo's going to trigger, adding from deck to hand. We're going to grab Anthus Bina, and we're going to activate that card. We're going to send Aberconway. We're going to Link Summon, not Link Summon, my apologies, XC Summon to Heraldic King Geno Heritage in order to try and negate their Gabanga, just so they can't suck up any of our monsters. We're going to do that, targeting Gabanga. They're going to Fog Blade, and we're going to let that go through. We're then going to normal summon the Whale in order to pitch a card and add 2. They're going to Ghost Ogre. I don't think that was necessarily correct, because the second Fog Blade should have been used on here. Adding 2 is just too valuable. We're going to let that go. From deck to hand, we're going to add double copies of Advanced Heraldry Art. Again, we can add as many as we want. And then we're going to go Advanced Heraldry Art. We do have 2 Heralds in our graveyard. In fact, we even have 3. We're going to summon Whale, we're going to summon Leo, and then we're going to go into a Redoer. We're going to go into a Redoer in order to tag out, just so we can make sure we maintain this Redoer throughout at points after this turn. And then our opponent is going to go Gabanga in order to suck up our Geno Heritage. Then we're going to go a second copy of Advanced Heraldry Art in order to bring back that card and Griffin. And then we're going to go into a Dreadnought in order to force our opponent's last back row that we know of being Fog Blade. So we're going to go to combat. They're going to go into Grand Breakout for a Clatter Sploder. Then Clatter Sploder is going to be able to Reborn, bringing back their Gabanga. Clatter Sploder in graveyard is going to attach from our monster in order to summon itself back out. And then we're going to go to combat. They're going to go Fog Blade at start step of combat, preventing us from attacking in. And we're just going to move to main 2. Now we're going to be able to go Charged Up Heraldry in order to tribute our Dreadnought in order to summon 2, Eel and Leo. Doesn't really matter at this point what we summon. We'll summon another Eel. We're going to go into Heraldry Crest. We're going to go Heraldry Crest effect to negate the effects of their Gabanga. And then we're going to be able to go into the new Heraldry, Shatter Stream. Then we're going to go to end phase. Our Redoer is going to come back, and it's going to be our opponent's turn to play. We're going to go Redoer in draw phase. Off that, we get a Forbidden Droplet, so we can draw if we would like to. We're going to go Gossip Shadow, which does unfortunately turn off our Shatter Stream. We are going to go Redoer to try and force a Gossip Shadow, and if not, we get to draw a card and see if we can interact with our opponent that way. And then we draw an Ash Blossom. They're going to go E-Telly. We decide not to interact with that. They go for a Ghost Ogre. They normal summon another Ogre. Go for a Leviair. Leviair effect to target that card. We might as well try it, so we're going to go Shatter Stream just to try and force out the Gossip Shadow, so we might as well draw a card. We're going to go Gossip Shadow, detach 2, we both draw. We draw a Fool Loss a little bit too late, unfortunately. They're going to bring back a Cloak. They're going to go into a Draco Future. They're going to go Cloak in order to make their Bardiche gain attack. They're going to attach their Gossip Shadow to their Utopic Draco Future, and then they're going to go Dangerous Tsuchinoko to get a free body on board. Here, they're going to be able to go into Turtle, which allows them to attack directly. They're going to go directly with Turtle, and then they're going to go in with Utopic Draco Future. They're going to use Breakout to lower our monsters to 800. We're going to go into that. Our Leo is going to trigger, allowing us to grab a Griffin from deck to hand, so we have a starter for next turn. And then our entire board is functionally just going to get eaten up. We're pretty low. They're going to go Bardiche, so they get another Fog Blade set. And then they're going to go Ancient Cloak. Here we're going to go Fool Loss, and if they do want to commit even further, they are going to have to give us an extra draw. And they're going to add a Boots from deck to hand. They're going to go Torn Scale to special summon. They're going to go Boots, and then they're going to go into another Gabanga, which allows us to draw a card. We draw an Imperm, which is fantastic. They're going to go Gabanga. We're not going to interact with that because we want to save Imperm for our turn. Then we're draw for turn, being another Imperm. Fantastic. So now we can negate both the Draco Future and the Gabanga and attempt to play out our turn. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to Imperm Gabanga, we're going to Imperm Draco Future, and then we're going to go Griffin, send Leo. Clatter Sploder is going to activate, special summoning itself out, And then we're going to be able to go Chain Link 1 Leo, and they're going to Chain Link 2 Clattersploder to reborn another Kabanga. And then we're going to add a Whale from deck to hand. They're going to go Turtle in order to swap that defense. They're going to eat up our monster, which is completely fine because we're going to normal summon our Whale. Whale pitch Ash, it's going to eat that Fog Blade, and we're going to go Whale Effect in Graveyard to bring back 2. They're going to go Draco Future, which is negated, so we're going to get back 2 Leos. We're going to go into our Heraldry Crest, targeting the Draco Future so we can get that immune by battle effect and negate all of their XCs. And then we're going to attack over their Clattersploder. Here we're just going to go into a nice, neat AA Zeus, and then we're going to Zeus their board away. They're going to go Fog Blade at end step in order to grab back Rusty Bardish, and then Tornscale to grab back itself. And I'm going to end my turn. They draw for turn, and they're going to start off with Mean Merciless in order to attach a material from Zeus, forcing out the Zeus, so we do have to wipe their board. And they don't get the Mean Merciless. We get to trigger Leo, grabbing a Stad Whale for next turn. And let's see what they're able to accomplish. They set 1 and they pass. We get to draw a card per turn. It's Advanced Heraldry Art. We're just going to use that immediately. And we're going to summon 2 guys out, being Leo and Griffin. We're going to go into Heraldry Patriarch here. And we're going to trigger our Stad Whale in order to bring back 2 more, in order to go to a Redoer. Bring back Leo and Leo into a Redoer. We're going to Redoer just to get it off the field and trigger our Leo so we can use our Stad Whale and have a discard for it, adding that eel from deck to hand. We're going to normal summon Stad Whale, use Stad Whale Pitch. They do have an Imperm, which is fine. We're going to go with combat, deal a billion damage to them, and hopefully be able to survive our opponent's next turn. Our Redoer is going to come back, and our opponent is drawing for turn. Our Redoer is going to take the top card from their deck, which was a monster. They do detach 1 from our Heraldry Patriarch, which is unfortunate. They're going to go Fog Blade, special summon Boots. They're going to normal summon Boots. That is 2 monsters with the same name, so we do get to pop 1 of the copies of Boots and trigger our Leo, adding us another Griffin from deck to hand. Here they're going to go into an Xyz Armor Torpedo, and they're just going to kill us. That was honestly my bad because I didn't realize Xyz Armor Torpedo was so big. But we do end up losing that one, so let's see if we're able to take it back on game 2. Alright, here we are in game 2. As you can see, we are going to be going first, and we have opened a fantastic going first hand. That was a little bit of sarcasm, but not really. Griffin plus Whale is insane. Thrust is alright, and then we can use any of these as discard fodder, probably the Perulia. So let's see what we're able to accomplish. We're going to start off with our Griffin, sending Leo, of course, special summoning the Griffin out. We're going to go Leo Effect in order to add our Eel from deck to hand. Then we're going to be able to normal summon our Whale. We're going to go Whale, discard Perulia in order to grab our Charged Up Heraldry and Advanced Heraldry Art. Charged Up Heraldry for Leo and Aberconway. And then we're going to be able to XC summon into 69. 69 is going to be able to put that Shatter Stream right back on top of it. We're going to go Advanced Heraldry Art here in order to summon back 2 and make a Redoer. And here's where I did make a misplay. I should not have made the 69 here. I should have summoned this Eel before I made it. Although I did neglect to recognize the fact that Eel is 2 or more Heraldic Beasts, not just if you control another Heraldic Beast, which is what I was initially under the impression this card did. Now, even though it is different than what I thought it did, I do still think it is at least useful enough to be playing at least 2 or 3 copies. So, we're going to have these here. We're going to go into a Redoer. We're going to have just an Errant Body on board, set the Thrust as a bluff, and pass. Our opponent Book of Moon's first thing, so we're not going to be able to do Dark Matter Demolition, unfortunately. They go E-Telly in order to bring out their Wielder. And in the standby, we're going to be able to take a card from them, and we do get an Imperm, so we do have interaction against them still. They're going to go Rhoda. We're going to let that resolve. They're going to see a Tornscale. And then they're going to normal the Tornscale. They're going to go Tornscale Effect, discard Mean. We're going to go Time Thief Redoer to keep them off the second level 3 and brick up their draw by putting the Tornscale back on top and triggering our Leo to add another Whale from deck to hand. Then they're going to go Mean Merciless to attach 1 from our material from our monster in order to go into a Big Kabanga. We're going to Ash Blossom the Big Kabanga. They're going to go Cloak in order to add a Silent Boots from deck to hand, shuffling the deck so Tornscale is no longer on top. They're going to go to combat, run over our Herald, and they're just going to pass it over to us. They're going to go Kabanga end phase to attach a material, and they're going to pass, and we get our Redoer back. Draw Fool Loss per turn, perfect draw. We're going to attach one from top of our opponent's deck to our monster. The attach being Shade Brigandine, so we do have another bounce, and we're going to immediately use it to bounce their Gabanga from their fields back to their extra deck. And let's see if we can kill them. Let's go Stad Whale, pitch a card in order to add 2 cards, adding Charged Up in advance. Special summon the eel, go into Evil Swarm Ouroboros. Our opponent is going to go Clatter Sploder here just to take a material off and special summon it out. And go Clatter Sploder in order to Reborn, Mean Merciless. And now we can go our Evil Swarm in order to rip a card out of their hand. We're going to rip a card. We're going to go Advanced Heraldry Art in order to bring 2 out. We're going to target Griffin and Aberconway, so we can go into another 69. We're going to go 69 and negate the stuff. 69 target Ouroboros, and we're going to go 69 to rip another card since it's now a copy of Ouroboros. Then we're going to go Thrust for Tactics in order to get that last card out of their hand. Probably was incorrect. Probably should have taken one of their monsters, although the greed never ceases to leave me. We're going to summon 2, and then we're going to be able to go into Dreadnought Dreadnoid. Then we're going to go Whale Effect in Graveyard to bring 2 back. Bring back a Leo, and then go into another Redoer. So we can search again on our opponent's turn. We're going to go Dreadnought, run over one of their cards. We're going to attack in, and then we're going to do a bunch of damage to our opponent's face. We're going to go Dreadnought Dreadnoid here, and then here is where I realized the critical mistake where I did not include the burn one, Libe, in my extra deck, unfortunately. And this is where I realized that Libe would have been really useful. So instead we went into Super Dimensional Robot Galaxy Destroyer to dissuade my opponent from setting up any back row. Let's see if this is going to be enough, as well as Zeus. Our opponent draws for turn. We're going to go Redoer in draw phase. I do believe we get a monster. We get a Doug Charger. And let's see if we're going to be able to survive. We're going to go Grand Breakout, tribute their Mean Merciless for a Doug Charger for Grand Entrance, and then Grand Entrance here for Clatter Sploder. Clatter Sploder, special summon by detaching off of Zeus. Clatter Sploder effect in order to special summon Doug Charger. Levy the Sea Dragon in order to grab a Phantom Knight back, grabbing back Shade Ancient Cloak, going to Cherubini, dumping a Torn Scale. Ancient Cloak grabbing our gloves from deck to hand, and then Torn Scale is going to trigger, special summoning itself out. We're then going to go into an Xyz Armor Fortress. Boots is going to add a Fog Blade from our opponent's deck to their hand. And then they're going to be able to go normal summon Gloves, Torn Scale, pitch a card in order to dump a Silent Boots, go into a Break Sword, pop our Zeus, and then they're going to go and add back that Doug Charger. Doug Charger effect here, detaching off of that. Now they can go into Lancer effect to add back, and then they're going to go special summon Silent Boots. Here we are going to Time Thief Redoer just to get it off the field so we can retain it, and then also get a search for our Griffin. And then our opponent is going to go into a Gabanga search the 3rd Doug Charger. And then they're going to go Gloves, send a Torn Scale, and they're going to go to combat. They're going to run over the board. They're going to go Grand Breakout here, and then they're going to eat up our Super Dreadnought. They're going to do a bunch of damage to us and leave us on a very low life point total. They're going to go into a Rusty Bardiche, Rusty set of Fog Blade, and they're just going to pass from there. So we just have to contest with a Fog Blade and then a card in hand. We're going to go Redoer during our standby phase. We're going to get a Grand Entrance so we can draw an additional card, which we will be doing, drawing another Imperm. We're going to go Whale Effect to bring back 2. They're going to go Clatter Sploder in order to special. That's going to allow the Gabanga to eat up one of our specials, and then Clatter Sploder is going to special summon another one, special a Doug Charger. Doug's going to get a search for Breakout. And we're going to go Griffin, dumping Eel, since we are out of good targets now. We're going to go into a Silent Honor Arc to eat up their Gabanga. We're going to go Leo in order to search a Whale in order to try and force their back row. We're going to go Whale, pitch a card, they're going to Fog Blade, and we're just going to go to combat. We're going to swing in, and we are just going to pass it back to our opponent. The reason we're chilling here is they don't actually have lethal on board, and while Fog Blade is attached to this whale, they cannot attack me unless they kill the whale, because even though the whale can't attack, they can't attack the whale either, and there's no text saying they can attack directly, so they have to go to the Gobblebiker Turtle in order to do so. We're going to draw for turn. We're going to go Redoer, take the top card. Top card is a Kagamucha Knight. We're going to go Doug Charger. We're going to go Redoer. We're going to take it off of our Silent Honor Arc. Doug Charger is going to add the Grand Entrance from deck to hand. Then they're going to be able to go Dark Knight Lancer in order to add a card back. They're going to go Silent Boots in order to add another Fog Blade. And then they're going to go Torrent Scale to special. Torrent Scale effect, pitch a card to send another Boots from deck to grave. Jackalope to special summon Tsuchinoko. Then they're going to go into a Gabanga. They're going to go Grand Entrance for Doug Charger. Big Gabanga to eat up our monster. Going into Turtle. Here we do see the writing on the wall, so we do need to imperm the Turtle before they kill us. That's going to force them to go into an SP Little Knight to out our Whale, so we don't just draw level 4 and win. And we're going to get our Redoer back. Now, the only way we're winning this game is if one of those cards isn't a Fog Blade, and we know they did add a Fog Blade from deck to hand with their Boots, so we're just going to hope they don't realize. We're not going to activate our Redoer to trigger the SP Little Knight. We're just going to try and go to combat. They're going to Fog Blade. We're going to show them the last card is Ash, and we're going to concede. Now, unfortunately, we were not able to get that best of 3. However, I do think it was a good display of, even though the deck is not good, I want to reaffirm, pure Heraldic Beast I don't think is very good. I think there is a lot of potential in the strategy, and if they do provide more extra deck bodies for the strat, the deck actually might be quite competent. But that's about it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, if you still are. Thank you to my one member. Thank you, Ari. If you want to become a member, please stay tuned on all my videos where I go over details over there. But again, this will be it for me. Thank you all once more for watching, and I'll be seeing you all later. Bye-bye. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. As well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel, where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or 2 before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build a deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.